Hi there, Sue Johnson here. What have I got for you today? Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of benefits to walking and hiking, which is something I like to do. Stanley walks, I like to hike. So we're going to share with you our walk up Mono Cliffs Park, which has a lot of cliffs, as the name says. So if you're interested and you want to see some good scenery and you want some good points on why this is good for you, walking, hiking, stay tuned. We have not done this trail before. So it's a big discovery thing for us, right?
It is.
Yeah. When you walk every day, things happen. You change. Now, Stanley used to walk every day. When I met him, we walked every day. And that's what he used to do. His father used to do it, probably up until his dad was about 94, walking every day. It was one of the first things that we did when we first met. We walked and we talked, and sometimes for a couple hours we would walk. Well, 15 years ago, Stanley had a heart attack, which resulted in a quadruple bypass surgery. When I talked with the doctors at the time in, the consultation room telling us what had happened and what's going to happen in terms of surgery, I lamented the fact that he walked every day. How could this happen? And the doctor said that if he hadn't walked every day, it could have been a lot worse. So it was walking that helped Stanley survive his heart attack and gave him his continued good health as we go along in our, so far, 27 years of marriage. Studies have proved that we can lower the risk of early death by almost half by walking or hiking, especially taking daily walks. So research tells us that people who walk 7,500 steps a day, they can cut the risk of early death. Isn't that amazing? Did you know that the average person gets about 4,000 steps in each day? And that's just us doing usual routines like going to work, coming home, cleaning the yard, making dinner, cleaning the house, washing the car, stuff that we engage in every day. 4,000 steps. Have you ever worn one of those little watch things that record your steps? I did. And when we were in Disney, I wore one then, and we averaged at least 11,000 steps every day, which I thought for us was pretty good. Their research and studies suggest that we need to walk with a purpose. And so on this day, we had a purpose. We were going to walk this trail, not knowing that it was pretty much uphill most of the way. And I guess we should have thought about that because there is a lookout that we were heading towards. And a lookout sounds like it's going to be up in a higher area, and sure enough, it was. But, okay, so walking was our fitness, and we went with water bottles. We had a contingency plan if we needed a washroom. And we had lunch. Stanley made us sandwiches. The Monocliffs Trail was a challenge, but I kept saying to Stanley, it's not a marathon. That's something he would say to me. It's not a marathon. And, we met a number of people on the trail, although they're not in this video because I tried to avoid getting other people who didn't consent to be in my video. I tried to avoid that. But there was a lot of people on the trail that day because it was unusually warm and it was lovely. And we talked to them. And there was one couple we met. It's really cute. They were about in their 50s. And the husband was not sure about whether he should go on this hike or not with his wife. And they asked us, how far is it to the lookout? And we said it's about an hour from where he was standing. And it is uphill, and then there's this steep rock climb at near the end before you get to the lookout. And he just he was shaking his head like, I'm not doing this trail. And she was all gung-ho. She had her walking sticks and everything. And then I said, listen, I'm 70, Stanley's 81. And they're like, what? I think people don't expect older people to be out on a trail or hiking. Anyway, I said, if I can do it, if we can do it, you can do it. And so then they headed off. I have a feeling the husband was a little bit reluctant, but he went, and I assume he made the total trail up to the lookout point. There are several offshoots from the main trail that we were on, and you can go in different directions, and some of them take you in loops, which was kind of neat. We didn't do a loop, but we saw other people. We would see them, and then we would see them again. We're like, hey, we saw you before. And one couple, these two girls, they were actually lost getting in this loop, and we had to sort of direct them out of the trail area. But a lot of trails to explore, and that's one thing I like, is that we can go there and explore the main trail and head towards the lookout and enjoy that, but come back and then on another day do some of the other trails. So for me, it's about being able to see something different. You don't know what's coming up ahead, and life is kind of like that. Although we sometimes are holding back, or like, hey, I don't know what's coming. I'm not going in that direction. I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. But you know what? Sometimes if we see something that's maybe a bit difficult ahead, we need to persevere and move ahead, because there's a great level of contentment and satisfaction and hopefully joy on that trail, on that journey of life. Things that you may have really missed, things that are of great value in life, had you not gone forward. And so trails are kind of an example of that. So I like a different trail. I like something that's totally different, so that I can just explore it and see what it's like. And honestly, sometimes we do the trails and we get back to our car and I think, man, if I knew that was coming, I don't think I would have done that trail. Now here we are at the big rocky part. It's hard to get that sort of depth of field as you're videotaping, but this was a bit of a steep climb. And I was amazed because Stanley was about 20 yards ahead of me. I had to stop partway and just get my breath. And he just plugged along. I think his attitude was like, let's get to the top of that hill, see the view, have our lunch, relax, enjoy it, and then we can think about the return journey, which is what we did. This is definitely the cliff. We're climbing the cliff. You can't get the depth perception with a video, but maybe Stanley up there will give you an idea. We've already done half of this. I have to take a break. It's a workout. It's not called Mono Cliffs for no reason. And I lost my voice.
Let's go up to the big one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look here for a second to see what I can see. Wow. This reminds me of being up in Blue Mountains.
Okay, let's climb up to there and see if there's a main platform.
Yep, we will continue on.
It's funny, the original maps I was looking at seem to give hundreds of steps.
When you walk, you think better. It's such a great way to clear your head, to relieve yourself of stress, to get away and not think about the worries and concerns that happen or that are occurring in your life. Walking stirs the chemicals in our system so that we can be more creative. Now, research tells us that if you're working on a particular problem and you're looking for a creative solution, walking helps. You're going to be 66% more creative in finding a solution than if you were sitting, focusing right in on the problem. So here we are, finally, at the lookout. And it was really cute. Stanley had to look at all the construction of it, how firmly it was, the foundation and the poles and the cement and everything was made to hold this jut out piece of deck that went out over the cliff. He certainly makes me feel safe. He's got a great eye for good, solid construction. Anyway, so the lookout, I think, was worth it, but we were saying it would have been really good if we had been at the lookout a couple of weeks before, where all the trees were full of color. Somehow we missed that. You made it.
We made it right to the top.
A lot more than we thought it was going to be.
Hello.
Coming from Ireland, I asked Stanley if this reminded him of anything where he lived in Ireland and growing up.
It's quite high up in a great view, but reminds me of the days when I was about, probably a teenager, 18, 19, living in Ireland, and we had a bunch of guys were friends. So for fun, we would on Boxing Day every year for a few years, we would climb Slieve Donard, which is 3,000 feet above sea level, and the highest mountain, I think, in the north of Ireland. Anyway, the first time we did it, if you can believe it, think about this, we're going up 3,000 feet climbing. Now, it wasn't a rock climb, it was just a vegetation climb, grasslands. After the trees quit growing at 1,000 feet, so from then on you'd no trees, no to look through. Well, on the first trip up, we didn't bring any refreshments, if you can believe it. We didn't bring water. We didn't bring sandwiches. We didn't bring any veggies, nothing. Well, we got to the top of that mountain. The wind was howling a gale, and there was somebody years ago had built walls all across the mountains. So you get behind the wall out of the wind, but you still have nothing to eat. And we had to decide, okay, we're not going to eat the grass, so let's go back down. So we went back down and got into cars, starving, probably stopped at the first cafe and tanked up. But the next year, New Year's Eve, whatever year that was, probably 62 or 3, the next year we were loaded. Bottles of water, sandwiches, veggies. Great Harry Douglas, one of my best friends, he had a thermos, a giant thermos, probably held about 4 cups of tea, and sandwiches, maybe. His mother was a great sandwich maker, and he would probably have 4 good loaded sandwiches. So when the boys got to the top this time, they sat down, give a good go to the sandwiches, passed them around a bit, drank tea, and got tanked up, and then stayed a little while because it's 2.5 hours to get up to the top of Slieve Donard and 1.5 to get down. So we patted ourselves on the back and said, this is great. This is the way to do it from now on. So we did.
And you said then when you get up there, you could see all the sheep and the farmers, like rock walls and stuff
Yes.
like that.
So many years ago, I don't know the history of it, but they built stone walls all the way across the mountains. A lot of building. And you'd see one go and disappear in the distance, and another would cross it. And maybe they built it for shelter, or they built it to keep their sheep into a certain parameter. But the thing is with sheep, what the guys did, the farmers, they got a big brush with a coloured paint, harmless paint to the animals, and they would just put a big gob of it on their coat so that the farmer knew that colour was his sheep. So when the dog went out and to bring them in for the evening, then he knew that if the dog rounded up the wrong color, it had to be taken back. Anyway, those were innocent days.
You said you feel like you're going downhill on the bench?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this, but Stanley, you're going downhill.
Don't go near the edge.
No. What is it they say? 15 minutes? Get in touch with the earth. As long as there's nothing else weird down here.
When we began our hike, Stanley was concerned about would we get lost, but this park is clearly marked with all the colored marks on trees so that you know what trail you're on, and you just continuously look for those, in our case, little blue marks. So he even agreed at the end. It was a well-marked trail.
I just think about what we actually started down at about 10 after 2, and it's now just after 3. By the time we get to the car, it'll be about an hour's walk altogether. So it's an hour each way, that's 2 hours. Well, in fact, it's more going up.
Yeah, because you're going uphill mostly. This is mostly downhill, so that's pretty good. If I hold your hand, then I won't lose my balance while I'm videotaping. Bye-bye. It's quite a cavern.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Stanley and I enjoy taking you along and just sharing a bit of our life and our enjoyment with you. So I gotta say this, go out and take a hike.